Welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
We're joined with Penny Mordaunt, the Portsmouth North Conservative candidate, to share with our viewers her views of the Conservative Party manifesto and what the key points are of it. So thank you very much for joining us, Penny.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. And as well as our national manifesto, I always stand on a local one as well that's been written by local people about their ambitions for our city and the things that will make the biggest difference to them. But our national manifesto is really all about security. It's about financial security. We've been through a really tough few years. We're still dealing with the legacy of COVID. The world is a very unsecure place. There's lots of shocks going on all over the world that are affecting people's finances. So we think that is the top priority. It's cost of living issues. We're doing well as a nation. We've come through that tough time. We're outperforming the United States on growth. We're outperforming many countries in Europe and the Eurozone on growth, but also on inflation. We're the first country to have beaten the inflation issue. That's fantastic. It shows how stoic we are as a nation, how strong we are as a nation. But we've got to keep that recovery going. And what will choke off that recovery is if we saddle the wealth creators, the opportunity creators, our businesses and households with higher taxes. So the central theme of our manifesto is lowering those taxes on your work, taxes on your home. We're going to ensure that pensioners don't pay any tax on the state pension, lock that in indefinitely. That's really important. We have for low and middle income earners the lowest tax burden since 1975, but the overall tax burden is high. And if you look at our spending plans, go and look at Ed Conway's graph on Sky, you'll see that at the end of the next Parliament, the tax burden is coming down quite steeply. For Labour, it's going up to an all-time high. That's not how you grow the economy. We need to keep taxes low. And we need to also make sure that taxes like fuel duty, we've held that down, frozen it for 14 consecutive years. Labour have put that up every year that they have been in office. We've also got offers in our manifesto to, again, help household incomes. A childcare package, for example, that's worth about £6,500 to most families. But security isn't just about that financial security and giving you more liquidity and disposable income. It's also about defending the nation. The equipment program and our defence budget requires us to be spending 2.5% by 2030. So that is what we will do. We're the only party that is committed to that. Labour haven't committed to that. And you need to commit to that if you're going to fund defence properly. Really important to our city. We also need border security. We will give on legal migration, Parliament, the powers to produce an annual cap on family and work visas. And that will be informed by what the nation needs with regard to its workforce and shortages in particular professions, but also the burdens that puts on housing stock, on our public services. So we've got that balance right, annual cap that will come down every year. And on our current policy, we should be halving legal migration by next summer. And then, of course, on illegal migration, we will continue the work to stop the gangs that are bringing people over. We've already arrested 1,000 people, serving many hundreds of years of jail time. We've speeded up processing in the Home Office by 300%. But the critical thing is, the question each party has to answer is, what do you do with people who are here, no right to be here, but you can't return to their country of origin? For us, we've developed options like the Rwanda scheme. That is ready to go. The first flight is due to take off on the 24th of July. That is critical, and we can't solve this problem without those sorts of things. We're not an outlier. Many nations are doing that. It's the way ahead, and Labour have said they'd scrap it even if it is working, which is crazy. And then the fourth element to security is energy security. We are the only party that are saying yes to North Sea oil and gas. We have got a great story to tell on renewables. The first, second, third, fourth and fifth largest wind farms in the world, the first nation in the world to halve its emissions. And we're doing great stuff in Portsmouth on tidal. That's becoming more competitive. But in the interim, while we transition to those new technologies, we've got to keep the lights on. And I want to keep those lights on with homegrown energy, not having to import it, not being reliant on other nations. That doesn't make us secure. What we're also doing is, to meet the 2050 net zero targets, which we are committed to, we're doing it at a steadier pace. And that's important, because the only way you get that transition is to allow people enough money to buy into new technology, but to make that technology desirable and practical for people. If you do it too fast, you just pile costs onto people, and you also don't create homegrown supply chains. So on Labour's plans, we know they'll have to go to China, to other nations, to get batteries, to get component parts. We want to do it at a pace that we build that manufacturing here at home. That makes us energy secure. And then turning to more local matters, the top priority for me, second only to the cost of living, is healthcare. I've been doing a lot of work with GP practices, looking at actually how we can increase further the GP to patient ratio, putting in new facilities. I brought forward money from NHS England to build the Highclere Health Centre at Cosham. It's going to have more than just GP consulting rooms. It's going to have amazing treatment rooms and facilities in there. I want to renew all of our healthcare stock, capital stock on Portsmouth. I think we should be really lifting the quality of the experience of using primary healthcare, and that makes it good for people to come and work with us as well. We retain people in the city. I've been working to establish a dental school, which is well underway, and we've signed an MOU on a medical school. Training people here is vital to getting them to stay and work in the city. We've already got a massive uplift in nurses and doctors at the QA hospital, but across the country as well. We need to keep that going and keep renewing our capital stock as well. New A&E department at the QA, fantastic new facility will open this autumn. More projects like that. Tipner is a big issue for me. We need to develop that. We need to have homes for local people there. We need to provide all kinds of facilities, community facilities as well. We can make that development amazing. It will lift the whole city, and we need to get on with it. The council is wrong to be cramming in HMOs in family homes. That's not what we need. We need that family housing stock for the future. We should be developing at Tipner and bringing dilapidated buildings back into use. We need some big transport solutions as well. We need a citywide approach to parking. We need to get some investment in to get some really permanent solutions to this problem, which is a blight for everyone every day. Another big focus for me is increasing special education needs, mental health provision, and youth services. We've grown the facilities that we have here in the city, opening new schools, for example, but we need to go further. The demand is there. And I also want us to set up our own local wealth fund. People want to leave legacy to the city. People want to invest in some of the amazing things that we've got going on here, whether it's green technology, space, maritime. There's a lot of investment we could attract into the area and create our own wealth fund that would give us more options in the future. And then just finally, a very important issue to many people is the issue of sewage going into our sea. When I took office in 2010, we had raw sewage running off Portsdown Hill. Cosham was permanently underwater in the middle of winter. We had terrible flooding problems, terrible outdated sewage system. We have spent hundreds of millions of pounds in the city building sea defences, replacing old sewage systems, opening up that. We don't have those big floods anymore. We don't have raw sewage running off Portsdown Hill and through people's homes. What we need to do now is split out and modernise our sewage system so that stormwater is separated out from sewage, and that is not having to be released into the harbour every time we have heavy rain. We have the biggest infrastructure project of its type in the world going on at the moment. You can see this in real time on Water UK's website, and the work to bring that storm overflow situation to an end in Portsmouth Harbour will be complete by 2027. Massive project, but very much needed, and we will continue doing that. But to do that, we need to keep the economy strong. We need to make sure that there aren't pressures on people's bills. That's what we will do, and that is my local and my national manifesto.
Okay. Well, thank you for both of those. If I just might ask you to close by just so some of those things in the national plan were about increasing spending in defence, the things about childcare, and all of the other new spending that you're talking about the tax cuts. Obvious question everyone has is, so where's the money coming from? Where's that new money coming from?
Absolutely. So we are going to be spending more than the Labour Party. We're spending more to deliver those tax cuts, but also we're making sure that public services are being properly supported. But we don't have a gap in our spending. The Labour Party have a £38.5 billion gap, which they're still trying to explain how they're going to fill. But ours, our costings don't have a gap. And so we're actually going to be raising money, as well as growing the economy and all those other things, and making efficiency savings. So there is some spending in there that's purely funded by productivity and efficiency. Our defence uplift, for example, is done via that, on reducing some civil service headcount. But we are also, our two big ways we're going to raise money and get that headroom is to control welfare spending. We're going to find £12 billion worth of welfare spending, which sounds a lot, but we have done it before. We did it in 2015 whilst getting 4.1 million people into work. So we're going to be cutting welfare in order to cut taxes on working people. Labour are going to be putting up taxes to fund the welfare bill. And then the other big chunk is we're going to find £6 billion from cracking down on tax avoidance and evasion, which again sounds like a very high number, but it is actually consistent with what we have been doing year on year. Our average amount that we've been managing to get in from tax evasion and avoidance each year is each parliament is 6.7 billion. So we think we can do that, and that's our track record, and that is how we will fund tax cuts, which are really important, because unless we give people the liquidity to be able to have that financial security, then we can't keep this recovery going. We need to keep that going. What will choke it off is households being in financial dire straits, and our businesses in particular not being able to create jobs. We can't put the burdens on them that Labour are planning, and we can't increase taxes on them either.
And just to confirm to our viewers, the full candidates list for Portsmouth North are, of course, for the Conservative Party, Penny Mordaunt; for Labour, Amanda Martin; for the Liberal Democrats, Simon Dodd; for the Green Party, Duncan Robinson; and for Reform, Melvin Dodd. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Pompey Politics Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget that bell notification icon so you get your notification when we're next live. We usually go live 6:27 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn. Don't forget to have a look at our website, where you can find details of all of our previous and upcoming shows. That's pppodcast.uk, pppodcast.uk. Thank you. Feel free to leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you can even ask Alexa to play the podcast for you. Alexa, play the latest episode of the Pompey Politics Podcast.
Getting Pompey Politics Podcast from Amazon Music.
Alexa,
Playing the latest episode.
stop. See? It's easy.